Hey, hi Chintan. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Yeah,
right?
it's my pleasure
In
to be here.
our podcast series that probably we have where we want to talk to many engineering folks and learn a little bit about what's a life in a day like you, life in a day for you, and also I'll learn a little bit more about what kind of challenges and how you even mitigating them, right? When it comes to engineering, right? Just small introduction about me. So yes, I am founder of Drona HQ. I probably look at very different aspects of, while I'm a techie at heart, right? But these days I've lost the privilege of continue to be a techie in that sense, right? But yes, I'm still an hobbyist, and it really gives me a great pleasure to be doing what I'm doing in terms of probably in the context of dev tooling, right? That probably what we are into. We would love to we I still get a chance to talk to a lot of engineering folks, and that just gets me going. So anyway, let's begin, right? Chintan, this is all about you. Would love to know a little bit about you. What do you A little bit about your background, right? And a little bit about what you're doing and how have you been, what's your journey up till now, right?
Sure,
If you could just share,
sure. So,
yeah.
hi, my name is Chintan Surelia. I'm an engineering manager at Purple.com. I look after supply chain management. I'm so from the overall part, and yeah, so I started with Purple as a backend developer. Okay, and
Was this your first job?
yeah, that was second job. So that is long, like 2017. I started with Purple, and I started with supply chain management. A couple of months, then I moved to Martech, marketing technology. We built automations on the entire communication stack over there. Uh, Post that, I moved to data engineering, build the team from scratch and everything. And then from the last decent 2 years, I've been looking after supply chain management. I'll be heading that on the tech front. So yeah, that's the overall
You
journey
run
so
up
far.
so far,
Yeah.
okay. And you've done your engineering as your undergraduate.
Yeah, I mean, I've done my B's in
Okay.
computer engineering. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. And how is it, from what you were doing to what are you doing now, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to just give a slight glimpse
Yeah.
into a little bit of further nuances? You moved from, from say into from Marktech and Marktech into
Yeah.
supply chain. I
Yeah.
assume that's your transition, right? So
Yeah.
yes.
So overall, I was always a very big techie from start. Okay, like wanted to do something when I was in college, but didn't work it out. And recently, like I started with a first job, then I figured out that okay, something I can take out more than when I joined a startup called Purple.com, right? So it was like throw anything at me, I will figure out, right? So we started with something, then I took a very big thing under CTO directly. Like we wanted to build a very good level of communication system with automation and entire parts, right? Data driven, of course. So we built the in-house tool out of it, which is still in use, I can say. Like we have adopted a lot of stuff, we've evolved it from many, many years, even put a very good level of Gen AI capabilities in that, right? So that is there. So we scaled it up along with that. I think data engineering was something we were already into, but we wanted to move to a different stack altogether. So they basically chose me that okay, you also start with this because I have a very good level of thing
Sure.
that I wanted to try out something new, right?
Sure.
So gave it a try and we built a very good level of data ingestion pipeline out of it, right? That is also still in use, right? Like whatever sort of click streams which is coming, right? We are able to scale at massive scales, I can say, uh, and with a very minimal cost, okay, on top of Google Cloud. Uh, so yeah, that's how it happened, right?
So
And
all in all, a very
yeah,
hardcore backend
yeah,
engineer,
yeah,
data engineer. That's how,
correct,
and now on top of it, now you're managing
correct.
the entire engineering pipeline.
So like building like workflows to solve some business needs, plus building out some sort of application to do performance level stuff in terms of marketing, plus overall like a complete. I got out of the entire customer zone and moved to a data engineering thing, right? That which is like those are unsung heroes, right? You don't know what is happening with the data, right? But these are the people who actually make sure that the data comes, gets crunched,
Sure.
gets converted to information really fast, right? So that is something I've seen so far. And then later, like life happened, right? So definitely, as I moved to my role, then I figured out, okay, there is something I can definitely do. Let me build a team, manage a team, go to that part. Let me also take up some architectural decisions, take out good level of business calls wherever we can, right? And help the business to grow definitely.
So today
on
your
those
charter
terms.
has become more like an engineering lead
Yeah.
or engineering manager, where you are
Yeah.
actually managing the entire supply chain
Correct.
portfolio of things.
Correct.
Supply chain, as the name suggests, it's pretty much like, looks like a very operation centric sort of a
Correct.
system to make your 50,000 deliveries or fulfillments a day sort of a thing.
Yeah.
That becomes a backbone for you in some sorts.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Okay.
Because yeah, so being like from like in supply chain, everything is like people centric over there, right? Because it's something like you're dealing with products there, right? Once the order gets pushed to the system, right? Uh, you're dealing with the physical products after that, right? Okay, and there are people who are associated with it, definitely. So how do you make sure that you build such kind of workflows and mechanisms through which you are making the entire warehouse or entire fulfillment mechanism, even the inwarding of products, inventory management, overall fulfillment, what is going to like logistics management, everything associated till the product reaches to your home, right? Streamlined, even optimized in those parts, because there are people. It's a very people centric job, definitely. So you have to make sure that some parts you need to automate, some parts you need to make sure that you don't need a human to think, right? That can it be taken care by a system, right? That is something which always goes in the mind, that why can I do it in an automated manner, right? So that is something, if I can give you a glimpse, right? Once you place the order, definitely we'll figure out some flows, that is there a freebie to be attached? Is there a sample to be attached? Is there a free gift or something to be
How many
attached?
touch points are we talking about? A human touch
So I
point.
think in terms of human touch point, I can say that in the entire product life cycle, right? Once you take
Place the order.
product, not the place the order, that is the different part. That comes later, I can say. But in supply chain, first thing which actually get initiated
Or
is
the
the
inwarding. Oh,
inwarding.
yes, of
Okay,
course.
so you basically will give the order to your vendors,
Right.
right, and ask them to get the
Supply.
products ready and supply it to your warehouses, right?
Correct.
Okay, or
So let's talk
distribution
about that
centers.
journey.
Yeah.
How many touch points are we talking about? Like the
Yeah,
pre-order journey.
yeah. So pre-order, right? So I'll talk about a very conventional method and go with the way in which we are doing it right now. So earlier demand, like I can tell you that there used to be people who used to do all sort of demand planning, right? In which warehouse, of course, you have a multi-warehouse setup when you have a very big e-commerce company, right? So in each warehouse, how many products I need to
Stock
procure
up.
or stock up, right? That decisions, there are humans involved earlier,
Right.
right? And of course, after taking that decision, of course, there is a mechanism to get the approval from somebody, a team lead or somebody who is taking the business calls. After the approval gets placed, they will drop a mail to the vendor, and then they will accept it up. A PO will be raised, amounts will be settled, credit pe aayega, whatever, right? And they will deliver it out,
Supply.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and delivery is not that much part. You also need to do a docking system. Like
Correct.
you need to make sure that the dock is getting scheduled to get the truck getting boarded there.
Right.
You need to take the entire stock
Shipment.
out into
Yeah.
a warehouse, right? So all that stuff, you believe me, like right now, we using data and even like whatever sort of things we have built over the years, right? We are able to build our own demand forecasting mechanism out of it, right? Using that, we are able to raise the POs, and we are able to suggest the POs, right? That this kind of POs is something we can do
You're making
depending on the overall
as
DRR. Yeah.
minimizing the touch points.
Yes, we want to minimize the touch point as much as we can. And imagine, like, whenever you say all this, right, automation doesn't work automatically. Of course, there is a lot of configurations and stuff which needs to be tweaked. Okay, because seasonality point of view, of course, we have a lots and lots of years of data available with us, and it can take up a lot of stuff, seasonality or some kind of festivities or whatever, right? Based on it can tweak. But of course, there is some sort of human involvement required, because they know the actual stuff which is going to happen in a newer manner in the world, right? So probably if we are able to give some kind of tweaking mechanism to the config, so config driven algorithms, but that config of course will be driven by a human. So the mind of a human will be used on the major part when even you want the tweaks to happen or some optimization.
So the configurations would be in the likes of like, how aggressive you want to go, if there is a festivity which is coming
some
or
kind
not.
of stuff, some product you want to push ahead, some kind of category you want to push ahead, something like that, right?
Looks like a panel in the making,
Yeah,
man.
it's kind of like a
Okay.
panel in the making, yeah, right? So we want humans to only get involved where there is actually a involvement required, right? Instead of just doing a very good level of groundwork and just making sure that okay, we are raising up your such kind of stuff can be automated, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that is something we have built, right? Even we are going on a very big parts there, right? So that's how it happens. Post that, I can say that of course, once the product gets onboarded, you need to invert it into the warehouse, right? So all the stuff, of course, you will need some kind of PO to be ready in front of your screen. Of course, you will check the overall product which is available. You will do the QC on top of it,
Right.
right? And after that, you will invert into a system. Now, in this statement, I just told 2 to 3 statements over here, but it involves a very, very complex panel, right?
Okay.
And of course, there is a human involved which will do the entire operation to get it inverted only, right? Right. So that is
And
the-
every panel has its own KPIs.
yes, definitely, yeah.
Like it has to be one.
So basically, if I can tell you, invert, right, as a one scenario, okay. There's outward is a different scenario, invert is a different scenario. So invert, we deal in the parts on the number of products we can invert in a particular day or something, or an hour or something, right? So imagine the fact that if you have a very uh, initial set of panel which is making it work, right, in a small scale company, it might not work out when you are 100x.
So
or
basically,
50x.
efficiency
Yes.
needs to be always be like, you
Yes.
need to make more efficient systems.
Correct. So even like once you are startup, once you grow, right? So if I can tell you like 7 years back when I joined versus right now,
The panels are going to keep
the
becoming more
panels
and
are
more
going to
efficient.
be
Is that what
evolved.
you are trying to say?
Yes, because the business are going to evolve in the manner they are also going to realize that okay, something we can change in a different manner, right? Something we can do in a different manner. So those kind of stuff are going to be there, right? So of course it comes into the adaptability that how soon we can roll it out, how easily that person who is doing the invert, along with that the overall throughput they can give without compromising on the overall quality and checks that they are going to do, right? Because if you are inverting 100 products, something goes wrong, the person that sent 102, it's going to be wrong, right?
Correct.
So there should be a maker checker system there.
Sure.
So that's how the human touch is required there,
Sure.
right? Yeah. But after that, everything I can say that once the product gets inverted, racked in, right? Even for racking in, we have a panel available. Right? There's a human touch, right? Because they'll be like putting the products inside the rack, right?
Sure.
So they need to mark it in the system. So they'll scan the barcode and just put it, tag it to a rack or something. The system knows that overall warehouse map they will build on top of it, that we know which product is available on which position in the rack right now, right? So that is inward. Now imagine the fact that in outward, right, there is a thing that a person who is getting certain number of orders, right, that person will go pick your products up from multiple racks, right? They have a pick list ready, right? Now imagine if you have a certain number of products available, right? If there is one lead who is doing the parts where they will just assign, okay, you just fulfill this 10 orders by giving them and attaching it to it. Can I make it automated, right? Looking at all those stuff along with the fulfillment part where the truck is going to come with a logistic partner and something, right? So all sort of stuff happens. So we have automated those parts as well. Like we have a certain number of task list available for every individual. Like you just said, okay, I'm free, assign me a pick list. They will assign the pick list. That person will go and pick it up. Of course, there is a device on which the panels will be there.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they know that, okay, this order, I need to go to this particular rack location and just do it. Once they are there, they will use the panel to scan the barcode that I am at that location. They will find the product, scan the product. System will basically say that, okay, is this the right product or not, which is getting picked. When that is done, they'll put it in the basket, right? So such kind of mecha checker mechanism will be there, right? So imagine the fact like 50,000 shipments per day, right? Per day, with so many warehouses and so many people involved, right? Even you need to fulfill the orders faster, right?
Correct.
Yes. You need to make sure that your entire product lifecycle is pretty much optimized. Plus, whatever panels they are using, it needs to be robust enough and easy enough to use them. Like even I was saying that whatever we build at the
No,
HO.
we are just talking about 50,000 orders, but then there are also
Yes.
returns. Then there
Yes,
are
there are
also,
returns. There are
yeah,
lots
that
of
would
stuff.
also
Okay.
add a lot more
Warehouse,
to your supply
it's
chain,
like
right?
a lot of stuff will happen. There will be inverts happening. There will be inter warehouse transfers which will be happening. There are orders, actual orders which you need to fulfill. The returns which are coming, you need to do QC on top of it. You need to again invert
We
it
are
up.
easily talking about more than 100,000 transactions a day at a
Yes,
given,
even more than
at
that I
all
can
your
say.
warehouses.
Even more than that I can say, because like imagine the part that just a product scan API, right? Everywhere where a product is getting used, they are checking it up in the system, right?
Right.
That one API is getting called in one life cycle. It might get called 10 to 12 times in one order processing, right? So the scale you can talk about, right? It can go till millions
Sure.
in a month or something, right?
Sure.
So
No.
if we talk about the overall throughput of APIs, but no, major part is that application, how it is able to allow the person to make sure that happens really fast in a robust manner with a proper UX.
So at the warehouse, we are talking about people having these handheld devices.
Yes.
And then generally people, let's say people who are doing the pricing promo or any
Yeah.
other, the pre-order part of it,
Yeah.
right? Ordering the SKUs. Those are like web panels, I'm assuming,
Correct.
right? So and these handles are like what? Android based
Yeah,
applications
it will be Android devices. Okay.
Android devices.
With a barcode scanner attached to it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like you should be able to run that application in your browser.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it should work out. That is something which is as a primary
Sure.
criteria, I can
Sure.
say. Yeah.
So what I understand is you are basically between this even small section of say inward, outward, and probably the other part of the life cycle. There are a huge number of panels that we are dealing with, right?
Correct.
And so how was your earlier approach of probably building these panels out?
Yeah.
And what were the real challenges that you really saw when you were looking at because you are basically talking about every business is trying to make your entire process more efficient. They will
Yeah.
come back to you with say some number of requests every month or every certain amount of time,
Yeah.
and you need to even have to put that into a backlog and cater to it at some point
Yeah.
in time. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that journey in those
Yeah.
earlier days, and then
Yeah, yeah.
what how
So
did
it is
it
pretty much exciting on these parts, because like any company which is a very early stage startup, right? It's never about that we have a backlog or we have a certain number of weeks backlog. After 2 weeks only we'll be able to pick it up. No, because as a startup, right, the only thing which will matter the most is how fast you can roll out the things to the
How fast
market,
are you shipping?
right? Yes, that is something which will matter, because that is in a way in which you will make the rapid growth, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Now imagine the fact that some kind of system or some kind of UI level parts or configuration part or any kind of panel that you want to build, which is the feature set, right? You want to enable it on top of, right? If we are telling the business that you need to wait for 2-3 weeks, that will be definitely the problem, right? Okay, so earlier days I used to do it, right? Every developer was a full stack developer on his own, right?
Okay.
Like you will get hired as a backend developer, but believe me, you will be also doing the UI parts if there is
Okay.
a very good level of backlog, right? So we only used to design everything. We might not have product team available when you are an early stage startup, right? So you need to think how the UI is going to work out, what kind of components you will need, right? So you will build out the APIs, you will build out the UI, you will integrate on top of it, you will test everything out, right? And after that, just pray that on production it works out. Right?
Okay.
Because you are the only individual who is doing it. There will be, of course, will be a QA team who will be testing it out.
Right.
But it totally depends on whether they'll be like, okay, QA and UI, let it go out on production, we'll figure out if something breaks. Because
Yeah, that's how startups work, man.
in startups, it happens, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you grow, right? Now imagine the fact when I said that, okay, rapid development, right? It's like thought आया, change करते, might be thing. You won't do any kind of R&D, क्या होगा? Like you won't do any kind of performance check that, okay, after doing these 3 features, what is working out? No, you don't have time for that. You can't do A/B testing also. Once you are a very early stage startup, right? Now, having said that, you will end up building a lot of features. You will end up building a lot of panels. There might be features which you just roll out today. After 1 week, they'll be just stop using it.
Sure.
It will happen. Okay. Now, the major problem here is the maintainability, I can say, right? After 5 years down the line, you will say that, okay, there are hundreds of panels which we have created over the years. of course, when you say 5 years, of course, there might be people who have done iteration will be there, right? There'll be some parts you might not have a KT procedure available, very good level of KT process available. There might be some people who will be giving KT. There might be some people who will might create.
It
a
might not even
document.
be documented well.
Yes, it might be that they don't even do a document. They'll just say, okay, I've given the KT to this guy. I'm out now. Simple. It can happen.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So that's how it will go. That totally
And
depends.
what happens in such scenario? The new person who is
Yeah,
now
so
going
new
to
person, right?
onboard
So,
and he is going to take up the panel.
yeah.
The time to deliver now
So
the
I'll
net
give a
new
very good statement. Okay, like 2 to 3 years you have spent just to building and maintaining it, right? 2 years of KT, and you are expecting that person to know that 100% right. It will never happen, right? That person might know, okay, such kind of stuffs are happening. But when you go to that person, right, if something is breaking, that person is, I need to look into it, and that person might take like certain number of days. Imagine the fact that some UI component is breaking due to some API change or some data source, data type change or whatever. They need to dig into that. Now, overall turnaround time of fixing it up will increase, right? Because that
Sure.
person has not have a hands-on not that application.
Right.
That will happen, right? So, totally depends on how the KT is going. But yeah, so
But those are the real challenges
those are
actually.
real challenges. Yeah, that is like hard truth. I'm telling you, like
Correct.
even I have faced so much times. We have people who have like
And there's no escape. You need to dig in,
Yeah.
and it might be a very small thing, like you said, a
Correct.
data type must have just changed, or your API contract has just changed.
Some stupid reason you might say that okay, this is something we need to fix now, right? But overall, turn out to be that okay, as you grow, right, you will also in the tech parts, you will also make sure that you are also evolving in terms of the technology stack that you are using, right? So even like I'll tell you, we started with PHP completely. We were on Code Igniter, MVC pattern, right? We used to build everything in PHP. We used to have like a H2O framework on top of Code Igniter. It was basically a Django UI
Sure.
component, right? So using that, we used to just
Build
bind
your
the stuff
panels.
on the HTML, and using JS, we need to bind it out and whatever we
Correct.
need to run our stuff, right? Now, as a developer, right, if I'll give a very simple scenario. We need to query out the data, show it in a table with some edit form and something, and that's it. Okay. That panel used to take 3 to 4 days to build and certain number of days to test it out, right? Now imagine the part that is like a years back, right? Now, right? But having said that, what if a system comes which makes sure that okay, such kind of components I already have available, and it's just that you just pass me a data source and let it take care of it, right?
Sure.
So I don't need to worry about what kind of data tables I want to use, what kind of JS libraries I need to import.
100%.
And even with imports, it's like certain versions you will import, right? We'll go to, okay, I need minor upgrades to that part in my package JSON file. Let's say I'll say, okay, I just need minor JSON updates, or I need a major version upgrades I want, right? But after certain number of days, you realize that, okay, I'm on a very lower version than it used to happen, right?
Now you
Right
have to
we are
upgrade the
after-
entire framework.
Yeah, then it's like I need to update because there are security concerns which are happening. There are vulnerabilities which are getting detected. Like even with all that work which is coming, I need to also make some time out to make sure that I'm also maintaining that particular part just for security sake, or some kind of feature which has come which is only available on the newer version of that particular package, right? So all this stuff, right, is like when you hear it out, it's like okay, it's you just need to do the version upgrade, but it's not like you need expert people to do it, because some minor version upgrade might also cause some chaos, right? Now imagine the fact you have a central system available which takes all this burden out of it, right? And you just need to worry about okay, how my business is going to run, how I'm going to make sure that I'm able to provide the applications which are going to help my business in the fastest manner possible with a very good level of stability,
Sure.
right? So that's where we also started exploring the no code parts, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But before you
yeah.
jump to the no
Yeah.
code part, right? I have one question, right? Like, let's assume, like, I was talking to another, friend of mine, like, just like you. And, he was talking to me, like, about, his challenges, right? And one of the things that he said and mentioned, which, like, caught my attention was, like, even a small change, if they want to add a new text box into a line of code somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It was like, almost 2 to 3 days sort of an effort from the moment you are putting it over there and all the way to production, it's always a 3 day, 2 to 3 days of a journey, even such a small change.
Yeah.
You, like, when you were probably, like, doing your, like, you're going through your own grunt, right? Did you have a similar sort of an experience, or would you
Yeah.
say, like, what would be your experience on those things, right? When it
Correct.
came to changes.
So it's like
in
from a developer's perspective, right? If I want to add a text box, it's not like that text box I need to add. I need to also bind it to some data source. Text box, after adding the text box, what should I do with that value? So I might have to like take the value out. I need to pass it to an API. What's the actual use case, right? That matters in the overall development time which
Sure.
is going to go, right? So
Sure.
I've like heard about companies which also talks about where to put that certain text box in the UI for 1 month with various meetings which is happening with a very big level people, right?
Sure.
So that can happen.
Sure.
Right? But those are companies which will make sure that okay, they are slow movement, but they'll just release the feature in a very perfect manner, but they don't care about the rollout time. But the startups will definitely think about that. Okay, that we need to roll out, we'll figure out the position later, but we need that feature available, right? So, like from the developer's perspective, I can say once I get the final thing, okay, we need to do it. I'll of course add that component. I'll make sure that that data, whatever that data, what I need to do that input, right? That I'll figure out and I'll build it out. Also, I need to make sure there's some kind of robust valuation I need to put on top of it. There'll be some parts they might say, okay, this value has to be in this particular range or something like that.
And tell me one more thing, Chintan, right? You said, like, it was like, all back-end engineers who turned into full stack engineers.
Yeah.
Give me a mindset of, like, this back-end engineer. Does he
So-
really
so-
even want to be, like, doing this UI
for
thing?
me, right? For me,
Yeah.
it was like I was always. I started my career as a full stack. Okay, I was always doing a UI development plus backend. Even whatever projects I had done in my life, starting from my college, right? Even so, that time also I was always doing a full stack. But believe me, I've worked with so many people in my team, right? If they're a pure backend developer, and you ask them to work on a UI part, they'll hate it. Okay. Because they'll be like, okay, like 5 days of work is there in the estimate. They'll say, okay, one day for backend development, 4 days I will need for the UI development parts. And why? Because there is a chance that I will goof up with the UI. Okay. So for that, definitely, if you want to build a very you want to do it in a less time, you will definitely need experts who knows UI, right? But that is a very big investment.
Correct.
To hire people, right? People cost is the biggest cost in the
Software
for any
industry.
company, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that will happen. So as a company, how you make sure that okay, you are also making sure that my people cost
You
is
turn
in
them
control.
into full
So
stack by no
turn them,
choice.
Okay, we'll say okay, you take 5 days, but give me the perfect thing. Okay, eventually, once they learn, 5 days, 4 days will happen, but.
But
3 days happen.
a back-end engineer, is he really driven to even think, like, let's assume I have to pick a date time picker. Let's
Yeah.
say as a simple example,
Yeah.
right? Now there are tons of hundreds of libraries. Which library will I pick? Which will I
Correct.
choose? Which will I?
Correct.
What is my criteria for doing it?
Correct.
You think there will be enough thought and everything that would really
So
go
I'll give
in,
you a very
or
good example. Okay, it's happened with me actually. So imagine you want to add a date time picker, right? Or a kind of like a search box. A select box with a search filter on top of it. Okay, Select 2 is a very good library. Okay, it was one of my favorite when I was building such kind of applications because we had such a good scenario that you have thousands of lists inside that select box. I wanted them not to scroll down. Okay, I was like type karo, it will give you the filter thing, select whatever you want out of it, right? So as a pure backend dev, what you will do? You'll just load the library, you will just initialize it, and you'll start using it, right?
correct?
But as a very good level of full stack, what you'll say, okay, can I create a centralized something on top of it that, okay, I'll just create a function and I'll just ask everybody to just load that function and just pass it out. So centrally that library will be loaded from some manner and that data binding and everything will also happen. You can create a single and multi out of it. So that kind of configurations we have also built. But you need to put very good thought on that. Okay.
Sure.
So that happens with the expertise, right? So pure backend devs probably won't put time on front end. Definitely. If you ask them to explore front end stack, they might feel that okay, this is I'm right. I'm here to build some algorithms and solve some very good level of use case. Don't want to play out with UI components. They might say that. Okay. So
It needs a very different mindset and a different
9 out of-
aspirations. Is that what
9
you're
out
saying?
of, now 9 out of 10 people will definitely say that I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically then you end up living with a little bit of suboptimally coded things,
Yes.
which might even might even deteriorate your performance at some
Yeah.
point in time because it's not centralized library,
Correct.
it's not coming from a central system, and probably loading it at multiple points and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Is that something which is like
Yeah, yeah.
which is a given when it when
So
you
it's
go?
kind of like you need to live with that pinch of salt, definitely. But yeah, that will basically hurt after a certain number of years when you scale, right?
Sure.
So after that, will come up on the part that you need to upgrade the system. You need to
You need to
update all
rewrite.
the
You need
packages.
to.
We need to do everything, all sort of maintenance stuff. That time you will be like, okay, we did something wrong, right? So
So let's move forward, right? Like
Yeah.
now, what we understand, what it looks like, right? Now you adopted low code platform,
Correct.
right, Chintan, and you basically you at this point in time you are actually handling a team who's actually building stuff only on low code platform
Correct.
for when it comes to the UI part of it. Now tell me in the same in this context, right? How are things like,
Yeah.
right, from a backend engineer's perspective or from probably from overall organizational
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah. So I can say that it's little bit easier to convince people now to start using no code than asking a pure backend developer to explore front end tech. Okay, because it's like front end tech definitely you need to do a in
Are
a
the backend
very
engineers still asking for 4 days?
no,
They're not.
definitely not. No,
Okay.
if they're asking, I will definitely question
And
you are doing
are the
something
backend
wrong.
engineers okay to learn this new skill?
So it's a mixed feeling. It totally depends. But once they explore it out, right, they will of course see that okay, you have two options. First is the original one, the 4 day one. Second is this one. Over here, you need to learn a lot of stuff. You need
Is
to
it
do
a
a very
catch
good level
22
of R&D.
situation for them by any chance?
Yes, it's like do or die. If you do this,
Okay.
this is going to happen. This is a newer thing that company wants to do. Even we believe very highly that okay, this is something which is making out for us, right? So it's like slight learning curve is there, slight intent change is there. But once they get a very good level of stuff, right? Once some people starts doing it, of course, from the word of mouth, people will also start to uh, uh, get to know about any kind of no-code tool, right? Okay, and if they have some sort of use case available, right? They will also think that okay, I have a no-code system available which I can use instead of doing this thing which I'm bored from many years, right? So eventually certain number of days they when they try out, right, there is a learning curve involved. Okay, no code tool is not like that anybody can do, right? It's like anybody can do, but it's like you need to put little bit of effort to learn.
Sure.
Okay, we might say that okay, so just a drag and drop functionality. It's not like that, right? After drag and drop you need to do a lot of stuff. How the
Do a
components
lot
are
of
going to
stitching.
work it out, right? Stitching and everything.
Yeah.
So that will involve data source. That will involve like after taking this data, what kind of workflows you want to build on top of it. What you need in certain number of scenarios, you need to do something else. If and then, right, that will happen eventually. So that initial learning curve is there, but after they learn, we have actually seen like they are able to build their 4 days worth of very complex panels within like a day or two. Okay, like 4 days work was a normal thing I was saying, but if such kind of like complex applications we want to build on top of it, which used to take like 2 to 3 weeks earlier, which are able to do it within 2 to 3 days now in an
Wow.
initial mock-up. Okay, with some working scenarios, with binding of APIs and sources and everything.
So that's a
So,
huge
that's a very
productivity
big-
improvement, and you are
yes.
no longer your full stack engineers. Sorry, your backend engineers. They don't even need to learn
Correct.
React and other
Correct.
things, right?
So I'll tell you a very good fact, right? From I think more than a year, we have stopped building on that PHP platform.
Okay.
Like, it's like that is something as a hard you need to check when as a manager or as a head of engineering or whatever, right? From top only you just stop asking people to build something on the older system. That's how we will move out. Second thing is you need to keep believing that okay, and of course it will be ground up. Okay, a team lead or a manager is not going to explore Drona. They'll be said okay, this tool will work out for me, but of course it will be from the ground up.
Adoption.
Developers needs to do the adoption first.
Sure.
If they are confident about it, of course they'll be able to build it.
Sure.
And whatever we have seen so far, right? Certain number of we had also all mixed set of developers, right? We have a huge team at Purple, different areas we have, different teams we have actually, right? And all are handling some different modules or different teams or different use cases they are trying to solve, right? So let it be like pricing, let it be offers, let it be overall merchandising, let it be overall marketing, let it be inventory management, warehouse management, logistics management, whatever, right? Everyone is having a different thought, right? So the idea is pretty much simple, that how easily, okay, with some little bit stuff, because every use case will have its own complexity, right? If I want to build you a very complex offer system versus if I wanted to build something as a inventory management system, it might have a different complexity out of it, right? So with little bit learning, little bit adoption, definitely we can crack it out. Okay, that we can say. Like right now, I can confidently say that everything.
And
we are
let's
building
talk
on
about
Dragon.
another scenario, right? The
Yeah.
maintainability in the erstwhile days, right?
Yeah.
You spoke about like, somebody had to give a KT and, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I somehow I think like, in a context to a low code, a panel made on a low code tool, right? Everything is there right in front
Yeah.
of you. So if you want to go and add a new button somewhere or
So I'll
change the
tell you
workflow,
the main the most exciting part of no code is what, right? In the earlier conventional method, there is no control in which you're going to do the development. Okay, you're not going to build components there. Like you're writing everything in one single file. It might happen, right?
sure.
Like we have seen people who have written everything in the controller. You are also passing the UI from the controller, not following the MVC. It can happen, and such kind of guardrails, right? Of course, you'll be putting a very good level of review mechanism on top of it, that such kind of stuff
Which is
doesn't
still
go live, right?
manual.
But what if that happens? After the review, of course, that person needs to redo everything. That
Sure.
of course the time is wasted now, right?
Sure.
Now imagine a tool which is allowing you to build in a component manner. Okay, you are just attaching the component, stitching it out, and making it work, right? So we have some kind of guardrails available to make sure that this SOP is getting followed using no code. Okay, right? But over there is nothing. Some other if you
So
if
you need a very smart engineer over there who doesn't really do this and doesn't waste his time. Versus here we are looking at like, since it's all
Correct.
their guardrails are already there. You are not
Basically,
going
the
to
no
go
code tool
out.
is only not allowing you to do in a wrong manner.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's taking care of a lot of things by
Correct.
itself. As a result, you
Correct.
can really go down on your like,
Correct.
maybe you don't even
So if
you
you
need
want
some
to tap
logically smart
if you want
person.
to tap a database, right? It won't allow you. You need to create a connector out of it first. Okay, and that person doesn't need to make sure that how to create a MySQL connection or MongoDB connection. They don't need to research it out. That connector will make sure that it is going to work
Function,
out,
yeah.
right? So that is kind of like a black box, right? So the most benefit I can tell, right, that any kind of component, let it be UI component, let it be data connectors, let it be any kind of source, right? If that no code tool is having that feature available or a system available or kind of like a
Out of the box.
where it is coming as an out of the box, right? Me as a developer, I don't need to do any kind of R&D. That how, let's say, BigQuery works, how Bigtable works, how Redis works. Don't need to do. I'm like, okay, I'll just put my connection over there. I'll just do a get or set or read or update or write whatever I want to do. Such kind of basic stuff I need to know. Don't need to make sure that how the connection pool is getting maintained. How do I make sure that things are getting done in a robust manner? Plus, all those packages I need to update.
Right.
If I'm using a
You
conventional
don't
method,
even need to do that,
Yeah.
right.
So we have certain number of stuff that we have a library which is more than 8 years old now. Okay, like we haven't updated it because it's a very very central thing. We are afraid to do it because if we do it, it might completely
Yeah.
get
yeah.
everything down.
Correct.
Right? So of course we don't want any downtime. So and of course getting the downtime from business is the biggest pain in any
Correct.
for any tech person.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So that will be there.
So in the context of low code, right? Like, just probably maybe like, reiterating this. So how does KT or anything like, one person leaves and another jumps in, right?
Yeah.
Do you see this is going to be as painful
So
as in the
imagine like in a conventional method, they how does the KT go, right? They'll say okay, they will of course make a KT document, right? What kind of things they will cover. That will happen in the no code also. It's fine, right? But when they start going in depth, they will open up the code, right? They will show everything. Okay, code make what is happening, what kind of algo they are following, how the UI is getting binded. But that person will only talk about logic. That person won't say, okay, this library is going to be deprecated after 2 months or something. They won't talk about that.
Oh
Okay?
yes.
Definitely it will happen, right? Plus, they won't tell you why I have used this one, why I have not used something else.
Sure.
They'll just say, okay, I'll just explain you the thing. This is what it is.
Sure.
Just get to learn from me and just maintain it out. Just make sure that this gets up once I'm out of the system, right? This doesn't go down, right? That will happen. But yeah, versus no code, right? In the KT, you will talk more about the components there. Okay, this is the UI components, right? Simple, drag and drop se banaya hai, but all sort of stuff, validation and stuff are there, which is also like
This is separate.
configure on top of Drona, right? You can add over there whatever kind of validation you want. Plus, you can add some your custom JavaScript to add some data source level validations you can do, right? But all sorts of source, data source, and everything, those are like common components, right? You have connectors there.
Right.
Okay. You can just say it, okay, for this, there is a query which is under this connector pool, right? Connector group. Inside it, there is this query which is configured there. And this is the logic in which I have written the query. Simple. They don't need to worry
Everything is very modularized.
Yes, it's modular. Yes.
So that means the
overall
KT process,
right, even the KT process, they can do in a very, very
structured manner.
manner. Okay, because they know it, okay, how the KT should go. Okay, like I will suggest that, okay, first start with the data sources, what kind of data sources are there. Then I'll say that, okay, what is the actual business use case, what the panel is doing. Then I'll go in depth that, okay, in this panel, this data source is getting connected.
Sure.
And it is a logic that we are built on top of it, right?
Sure.
Now that KT versus the older conventional KT, this will have a more success criteria in terms of maintainability parts, right? And as you don't need to overburden yourself with the overall tech implementation which is there, right? On what kind of library is getting imported or what kind of maintenance I need to do, any kind of security updates I need to do, that is not there.
So almost 50% of your headache around that is any which is like,
So the developer will only focus on the actual thing that that person is
supposed to deliver.
supposed to do. Yeah.
Sure. So in like, what is the broader message for probably like, say engineering managers, your peer group, for example, right?
Yeah.
What is it that like, if they're listening to you, what is it that probably like, your top 2 or 3 takeaways should be if they are going to look at like, looking at low code platform to adopt or even to try.
Yeah.
And if they have to try in what is the right way to even like, set their, to start their journey?
Yeah. So if you are a fast-paced startup, okay, or a very early-stage startup, of course you will need people, right, who will know the front-end stack, because as a e-commerce company or any company which deals with a very good level of back-end panels, any kind of applications to run your business, right? Looking at over the years, right, what I have learned in my life, right, that such kind of nuances are there. Okay, if you start early with no code, that would be better. I can say that is the first step. Of course, there is some investment involved with that, right? But as you grow, definitely it will give you the ROI, because once you grow, definitely like you will also need to make sure that your things get delivered on time. You will hire more people, and your people cost will definitely get involved, right? Plus, lots of stuff on top of it on the maintainability part, right? That is there. You need to take some time out, and as a startup, you won't get time. Believe me, to update
So you're
all
saying
this
if you're
stuff.
a new, like, if you're starting afresh,
Yeah.
put this as a part of your stack.
Yes.
Is what you're
So
saying
basically,
upfront.
I'll say that
or
put
all
it as
your
a part of the
panels.
stack. So the major overhead, right? You will be completely getting rid of that. So you can focus on the main thing, which will make sure that your startup gets grown in the right direction that you want.
And for the engineering managers or like techies who are out there who are already like working on as big as a
Yeah.
platform as you guys,
Yeah.
but they are not yet on low code platform as of now, right? And if they were to, why should they really say consider it? And how should they really even go about it, Chintan?
Okay. So basically, I'll put it in this way that so when you should use no code, okay, simple. If you want to certainly be able to, if you don't have people, right, first of all, if you have like only backend developers available, that is first thing. You don't have a very big UI team which is already choked up because of work, right? And you also want to ramp up on your overall applications game, right? And of course, you have a very fast-paced environment where business is changing rapidly, right? Like imagine e-commerce doing quick commerce now, right? Like
Sure. That's a
from
huge change.
4 days, 5 days delivery, they come to 15 minutes.
Sure.
So
It's a massive
nobody
change.
would imagine, right? This will happen.
Right.
Now, this doesn't happen. There's a lot and lots of stuff, right? Even with that, of course, a lot of panels would have been built, or some
Right.
panels might have been changed in the way they are built. Which
So
were
what was supporting
working
e-commerce may
earlier.
not even support your
Yes,
quick
it
commerce.
won't work, right? Because
Right.
that will happen because it might be tapping some source which might be like not coping up with your stuff because your
Fair.
backend will change. Of course, you will say, okay, that backend I need to integrate with the older system. Along with such UI changes, you'll be like, my system is pretty much old now, and you are not getting people. That tech stack might be dead right now. It can happen,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Imagine you are on Angular 4 or 5. You are saying that I'm getting people who are working on a latest version of Angular. They'll say that, okay, why should I come and work with your company when you have a
Yeah.
10-year-old Angular build
Correct.
with you, right?
And that is an old application
Yeah.
which cannot really die
Yeah.
its own death because like and it's a very
Correct.
centralized system.
Correct.
I get it.
And believe me, that is something we have also faced
Right.
in past. Okay, so like believe me, once you adapt to it, right, you will get a very good level of use cases. If you are able to build any kind of application using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, is a basic language stack. I'm not talking about Angular or Vue or any kind of other frameworks. It is possible to build on no code. Okay, that is there. Okay, and of course the look and feel it will provide. There is a central theme which is there, right? You can do it in your way. Plus any kind of stuff you don't need to worry about. Whatever kind of components they have available, right? You don't need to worry about on the maintainability part. Plus some kind of use case that you have already built, some changes are required. It will be much more rapid than building in a conventional method. Plus even if you goof up, quick rollback is available with the no code tool.
So Chintan, one very quick one, right? Like framework or a tool in the context to backend or these panels, right?
Yeah.
Admin panels.
Yeah.
What would you go
Yeah.
with a framework route like a Django or something, or you go this route? My day one.
Yeah. So basically, I'll put it in a different manner. It's like if you have a very big consumer facing application available, right? Where there are customers involved, you don't want any kind of downtime, you don't want everything to be perfect. You have an application, right? Of course, I'll say that okay, if you are ready to invest that kind of money in people and overall cost to build, go for the with a front end stack because that will of course give you a very good level of performance. But yeah, for the back end operational stuff, why do you even want to use such kind of frameworks? Because backend will be more towards the way in which you are running the show. Okay, over there it's not UI prominent. You don't over there you don't care about how my button is looking. It's more about how I am able to run my processes really fast and in a very robust manner, right?
How agile you are.
Yes, how
in
agile
terms of
you
like
are, and-
even adapting
and
to the change.
Even with the overall changing business needs, how rapidly you are able to ship those products, right?
Sure.
So that, having said that, having no code in mind, right, you will be able to rapidly develop some stuff because of the reusable component which it provides, right? Second thing, it will have a lots and lots of sources available through which is available over the market right now. You will be able to just click and tap and just configure it and you are ready to go to run a query on top of it, right? Pretty much fast, okay? And plus binding that data source with some kind of any component, UI component where that can be done, right? You can do it pretty much fast, okay? Like believe me, like to create a table listing from a DB, 4-5 hours work is there in backend along with testing. You can do it within half an hour or half an hour. Even like if I'm just starting with any no code tool, right?
Sure.
Like I was able to build some kind of use case like that within 10 to 15 minutes on Drona. So
Sure.
it's a big game changer.
Sure. What do you do with the free time then?
Yeah. So so probably yeah. So my overall like life goes like this. Like when I'm in office, definitely I'm a different person, right? But at home, it's probably like spend time with my family. I tend to play
Sure.
games, right?
Sure.
I roam out with my friends. Lots of stuff. Even lots of discussion on the tech front. Definitely, whatever's happening in the market right now. So
Fantastic.
I'm avid, like I spend around 1 or 2 hours every day on LinkedIn checking out what's happening in the world, how the companies are growing and stuff. That happens.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad low code is helping you to save a lot on time and adding much more peace, right, overall.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chintan, for for being a part of the show. Thank you so much for letting educating more about how is the new stack is really like helping. And yeah, would love to like see you build many more success stories on top
Yeah,
of this.
definitely.
Yes, and
But
looking
I'm
forward,
looking
man.
forward to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much excited on how the overall no code game is going to change within like 6 months to 1 year, right?
In context to
Especially
AI.
in context to AI, definitely.
Absolutely.
Like I can imagine after a certain number of years, like you just provide a document out of it, it will create some panels for you. It can happen. Right? You
100%.
never know.
So yeah, we are
So,
working
yeah.
on something really exciting. Yes, on the AI and the cross between AI and low code.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to like once we are there, would love to show you what exactly we are doing. But yes, thank you so much once again.
My pleasure.
Chintan.
Thanks a lot, Jinin.
Have a lovely one. Thank you so much.